Everyone. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 943. We are live on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, and all these other podcast platforms. So please tune in. This is going to be a good one. I'm joined by a former MLB pitcher. His name is Scott Richmond. He pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays. He also pitched in the CPBL League, which we'll get to also. But first of all, Scott, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. Truly an honor. I can't wait to learn more about your story and how you got into baseball. But first of all, tell our fans and how are you and your family doing today?
Yeah, we're doing great. We're in Arizona, so the cooler weather is nice this time of year. Looking forward for the holidays, and happy to be here, man.
Thank you. Yeah. So I want to start off with your childhood growing up. Obviously, you grew up in Vancouver in Canada. So what was that like growing up there as a kid? And when did you get interested in the game of baseball?
Yeah, hockey's a big sport up in Canada, and I never played one game of hockey, so I just kind of did the whole little kid stuff, played t-ball and continued to play, and you kind of stick to what you like, and played soccer, played lots of different sports, but baseball kind of stuck. Just kept climbing the ladder. I don't know, just kept playing, going to different things, and soccer fell off. I was good at soccer and swimming and all these things, but baseball has just started from a young age, and then kept playing. And then I started playing in leagues that were a little bit started playing with kids that were a little bit older than me, which was cool.
So obviously you were a hitter in baseball too. So did you ever think maybe you could have been a two-way player just like Ohtani?
Yeah, far from a hitter. I hadn't had any minor league at bats. I didn't play high school baseball where I was a two-way player. I was not much of a hitter at all. There was probably about a 10-year gap between an actual pitcher pitching to me. And then when I got to interleague and with Toronto, that was my first at bat in 10 years. So that was a little bit intimidating, but yeah. No way it could be Shohei Ohtani. And I think that guy's a true, two-way player and not just slaps it around. I mean, plus both sides.
Yeah. So speaking of your journey, you had an interesting journey, obviously, and tell our fans, like, what was your process like to become a pitcher, to become the great pitcher that you were? And obviously, the routine is really important for a pitcher. So for you, what was your routine to keep that same delivery every outing you had?
Yeah, just being tall, you kind of gravitate to pitcher. And I could never hit, so that really solidified that position. But also I don't know how to say it, not wanting to give the ball up. Like, I want the ball. I want to play. I don't want to stand in the outfield. I get a little bit in la la land out there. So, just wanting to be on the mound, even if I only get to play once every 5 days, at least it's my game and I can approach it and prepare for it and do all that. So that was a lot of fun. But one thing my dad always says, you can't coach height. And I had the height. I wasn't a tall, super, super tall kid growing up, but I wasn't short. And I just gravitated to pitcher and then just liked the mechanics of it and, the mental side behind it. So kind of took on with that.
So for you, so obviously as a pitcher, what was it like just to, obviously in Toronto, you have a lot of stars too there. So for you, who would you say that you looked up to as a role model while growing up in Canada?
Well, yeah. So Roy Halladay had been there a long time, right? For the Jays, it was really cool to see him. Obviously, guys like Pat Henkin back in the day and stuff like that. I got to meet all them being an alumni now. So Dave, Steve, Henkin, all the stud pitchers from back then. But Nolan Ryan really blew my mind. The way he was really the first unicorn, kind of tons of Cy Youngs, lots of strikeouts, all the fun things to do with pitching, right? So when you're a pitcher coming up, I wore 34 because of him. And it was just really cool to emulate a guy like that. I didn't throw hard like that. I could strike a few people out, but I'm not doing 3 an inning or 2 an inning. But overall, Roy Halladay was being a Canadian, watching the Blue Jays, that's a guy you look up to. And then, just a guy you'd love to meet that I did end up meeting was Nolan Ryan.
So for you in high school, obviously, the baseball is obviously different from other sports where you can either enter the draft in high school or go to college. But for you, before going to college, did you ever think to yourself maybe you could have? Did you try to enter the draft before going to college, or was college always the thinking before going to the majors?
I didn't really have much. I had no chance of going to the draft because I wasn't a prospect. I wasn't even looked at. I was lost in the weeds.
Oh, wow.
I worked for 3 years after high school. So I was a 21-year-old freshman. I was playing in a men's league back home in Canada. So I wasn't really playing in any competitive per se level where back then scouts were few and far between in Canada. You really had to tell somebody to come watch a kid because they had no idea where any kids were. The Ryan Dempsters, the Jeff Francis's, Adam Lowens, these guys are just tons of attention. They're coming up from the States to watch them, right? They're, lefties and studs, and I wasn't getting any of that. So I just had to go my own route, and college is the best way. Get down to the States, get exposure that way.
Let's talk about that. How tough is it for you not getting recognized as a pitcher and not knowing about your talent? How tough is that going through that? And what would you say to younger athletes that might get into a situation or that are in that situation?
Yeah, good question. I didn't really look at it like I'm getting screwed or anything because I didn't know any different. It's just my path. I just kept trying to pound the pavement. I loved baseball enough to do that. That has to be number one. You have to really enjoy the pursuit of where you're trying to get to. If you're just doing it, then you're probably not going to give your whole heart into it. But I enjoyed trying to climb the ladder. I got to a wood bat league in Central Canada, coached there, knew a coach in the States, went down to a school at NAIA school in Missouri. From there, my coach left, went to a junior college in Louisiana, took me with him. I thought that'd be a good move for my career so I could go to a D1 school. Oklahoma State picked me up out of the D1 school. Started getting first time I talked to a scout was at Oklahoma State. They were saying 5th through 10th round. But back then, 9/11, the USA locked down all their visas, and being a international baseball player, I wasn't able to get a work visa. So the whole first day of the draft went by and I didn't get drafted, but blessing in disguise, considering how long I played, I was able to go back my senior year and finish up my degree and get an education from Oklahoma State, which was great. Same thing again. They wanted to draft me, no visas available. So I had to go back to Canada and do independent ball. So it's just my own path. I didn't look back. Like I was mad at the time. How come I can't get drafted? Of course. But all the way up until then, I'm just trying to make moves to climb. So to, like you said, give kids a little encouragement of what they're doing is just because you're not the superstar that's on all the covers and getting all the attention doesn't mean you can't make it. You just might not be ready yet. So just keep pounding the pavement, keep climbing the ladder, keep trying to get in front of better competition, transfer schools if you need to get a good opportunity. And just keep trying to challenge yourself with the best hitters you can put in front of yourself or best pitchers if you're a hitter, and just try to prove it there. Sometimes I didn't know where I'd peak. I didn't know if I would have peaked in Oklahoma State and just got pounded and then been like, well, this is it for me, is get an education. But it wasn't the case. I kept going.
Yeah. So speaking of, obviously you started at Missouri Valley College and then you went to a community college, but tell our fans, what was the experience like going to Oklahoma State, and how grateful are you that they gave you the opportunity to pitch in college at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, it was cool. Like I said, when I went to the community college in Louisiana, that was just a strategic move to try to get some D1 attention. And I got every school in Louisiana except for Tulane and LSU interested. But the reason why I chose Oklahoma State was because it was in the Big 12 at the time. Yeah. It still is. And then they also had number one in the country was in that division, Texas. They had Alex Gordon was at Nebraska. Max Scherzer was at Mizzou. Yeah. All these big powerhouse guys that I didn't know of yet, but I just knew that was the right division to challenge myself in. Than playing in like the Sun Belt or something like that. I'm just trying to climb to the top and see if I just get pounded, then I'll just go down. But trying to challenge myself. And Oklahoma State's great. Coming from Canada to the middle of Oklahoma, like, you know, I'm from a big city in Vancouver, so it's not really like I'm used to the country living and, you know, Bedlam. And we just had a big win the other day, so go Pokes. That was awesome. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Life's about experiences, and you know, I had some really good ones.
Speaking of Max Scherzer, he just got the money with the Mets, so congrats to him there. That's gonna be a 1-2 punch with DeGrom and Scherzer. That's crazy.
Probably best ever, right?
Yeah, but no, you know what? I'm gonna put. You know what? I'm gonna put. Even though Adrian Burnett his career didn't turn out to be. I mean, obviously with the Yankees, but I think Roy Halladay and Adrian Burnett by far the best 1-2 punch in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, I hear you. Those guys, I played with both. That was awesome. What about the fifth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about Richmond?
Oh, sorry, Richmond too. Yeah, right. Sorry, Richmond.
Yeah. Yeah, right. No, it was it's unbelievable. And I just saw a funny little thing on Instagram or something. It said these major league teams are feeding kids ramen noodles for 6 years and then giving them $100 million contracts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But for you, what's it like for you just to stay at home in Canada, pitch for the Blue Jays, and tell fans about that process? And when did that first come about? When you got the opportunity to play for the Blue Jays, your hometown, and just to stay there?
Yeah. So, you know, I was playing independent ball in Canada, and then a bunch of guys on the team were ex-Canadian national team players, and they called out and they reached out to Rob Ducey, who was the independent ball scout for the Blue Jays at the time, and said, hey, we got this guy. He's 26 years old. He's never been seen. You know, you got to come have a look at him. And then they came out and watched me, and they invited me to a tryout down in Dunedin. And me and my good buddy drove down there from Oklahoma State, actually went back for a homecoming, and then drove down there. And then went to the tryout, and I pitched in the tryout, and they brought me into the office afterwards. It was still 10 hitters and 10 pitchers. And I was 26 years old. Everybody else is like, you know, in their 20s, early 20s. And, you know, they said, we'll take the old guy. And they bring me in there. I just kind of tell them my story, like where I was kind of lost in the mix and where I'd been, what I'm doing, what my interest level is of playing professionally. So that was cool. Then they offered me a spring training invitation, which was how I got with the Jays. And then the next day, Baseball Canada called, and I got to go represent Canada in Asia for a World Cup. So that was pretty good 24 hours right there. All that stuff that I worked hard for kind of came to fruition, which was great. And then, you know, before I went away with Team Canada, Blue Jays called back and says, hey, we want to give you a AA, AAA contract. Wow. And knowing what I knew, you know, a few years later was they didn't want me to go to Asia unsigned. Mm-hmm. Somebody might have scooped me up. So they wanted to give me a deal saying, okay, AA, AAA deal. And started in AA, and 4 months later I was in Toronto. So, you know, it's funny to think back on it. When you're doing it, you're not quite sure what's going on. You're just trying to do really well all the time because your window is this small when you come from independent ball. If you struggle for a few starts, like, hey, Scott, you know what? Give you a good try. Nice try. Like, thanks for coming out. We're going to go in a different direction and, you know, one of our prospects or something. I didn't give him that chance. Like, when my back was against the wall, I pitched well. And that's just kind of how it went.
Hey, man, your story is unbelievable. I call this the underdog story. You kept working. Most players would have quit where you were at before, and you just kept going, working hard. You got your goal, played for your hometown team, which is amazing. And before we get to the Blue Jays, just tell us about Team Canada, because it's a great opportunity for when players represent their countries. Like we just saw this past Olympics with in Tokyo, obviously with no fans, but in a different circumstance. But how was it for you, the experience, like just representing your country and meeting other great talent there in Olympics?
Oh yeah, so I'd never played in the Olympics. I'd played in Pan Am Games. I'd played in 3 Pan American Games. I was also on the Beijing Olympic team.
Yeah. Okay.
that's the one that I was on the team. The Blue Jays called me up to the big leagues 2 days before I was supposed to go away.
Wow.
And the funny thing is before they called me up, I was going to Toronto anyway to be introduced before a Blue Jay game, going, hey, this is your, national team. Wish them all the best in the Beijing upcoming Olympics. Before a Blue Jays game, they're all going to stand behind home plate. So what ended up happening is the Blue Jays called me up, which made me ineligible for the Olympics. But I got to start that game that Team Canada got to be introduced at before. So all of Baseball Canada got to watch my Major League debut, which was really cool.
Wow, that's amazing. So obviously you go to after the Pan American Games, you go back to the Blue Jays. You spent at least 4 years with the Blue Jays. And what was it like for you, the experience? Obviously, you got to play with the late Roy Halladay, AJ Burnett. You had a great infield, outfield, Marco Scudero. Jose Bautista found himself in Toronto. I always hate facing him. But for you, what was it like just to be around that type of talent in Toronto?
Yeah, it was really veteran feel, Funny thing was, I was in Edmonton and independent ball for 3 years leading up to that. And when you're in Canada, Blue Jays are on every single day, no matter where you are. So obviously, if we're playing ball, they're on the TV every single day. So I knew every single one of those players, obviously. And then the next year, I'm in the clubhouse with them all. And they have no idea who I am because I wasn't in the minor league system. I had never gone to big league spring training. So it's just, you learn really quick, seen, not heard. Just be the guy who's head down, working hard, first out on the field. Try to leave a good first impression because you haven't had any impression on them yet in spring training and more of a relaxed environment. But you learn you stick with the younger guys like the Jesse Litches, the Ricky Romeros, the Adam Linds, the Casey Jansons, Jesse Carlsons. All these guys that were Travis Snyder's, things like that, right? All these guys that were young and with us all, we all start doing our hanging out. And then once you earn, all right, you're going to stay. All right, you're not annoying. All right, we want to be around you. You get invited to a few card games. You start playing a couple card games in the clubhouse. So it starts warming you up a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, so
things are a little bit different these days, I think, though, where now kids just come up and they're just the superstar in the clubhouse. The second they get there, like, I've arrived. Like, what's his name? Franco with the Rays. Like pulls up.
Franco,
pulls up in some like $500,000 car, from minor leagues, never been to the big league. Too. You know what I mean? And then he just signed, what was that deal? 12 years?
12-year deal.
So, it's different now. Like, that person, if he rolled into that clubhouse with, Burnett and Barajas and Aaron Hill and Vernon Wells and all these guys and Roy Halladay, and he starts flaunting his chains, and that it would have been a little bit different back then than it is now. Now it's like, get your flair, get your style. There's Instagram, there's like all this marketing. Back then we had like Facebook. That was it, right? Flip phones. There was we had like the Razor was the big phone, iPhone just came out. Remember Romero got it in 2008.
Yeah, so obviously in 08, I didn't realize you got to play with Frank Thomas, Big Hurt, in 08. Oh, or no, that's a different guy.
No, I never got to play with Frank. I played with like Lyle Overbay, stuff like that. Barajas. Bunch of Scott Rowland.
Oh yeah, Scott Rowland.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome third baseman to have, jumping every single time he threw a pitch. It's what he's known for. He's known to do like a little hop right before each pitch, and he doesn't take a pitch off. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. So this is a two-part question. So take us back to your debut. What was it like pitching your first game with the Blue Jays, and how nervous was it? Or what did you do to going into that game before you made your debut? And the next part to this, what was it like having a great defense around you as a pitcher? Obviously, a great outfield. And I had one of your former teammates on the show too, Shannon Stewart. He was a great outfielder too. And what's it like to have a defense around you that's to give you more confidence?
Big league defense, you want them to hit them at them. I'm not trying to strike everybody out. I was trying to pitch to contact and make them hit it at this awesome bunch of guys behind me. But my debut was against the Tampa Bay Rays. They ended up going to the World Series that year in 2008. So that was pretty cool. I think I went 5 1/3, 3 runs, 4 hits, or 4 strikeouts, 6 hits, something like that, but no walks. So I didn't walk anybody, which was great. I'm pretty good with my control throughout my career. And the preparation for that was just the brim of your hat. Keep the brim of your hat low. I don't need to look at everything that's there because, especially at the Rogers Center, we don't have like light towers. The whole thing's lit up because it's a dome. So it's very, very, very bright. That's the one thing I noticed the most from coming from the minors. Extremely bright on the mound. Like you just feel like you're on a video game on TV because it's that bright. So that was cool. But you just the thing is, every stadium stays the same pretty much when you just have your hat like this and you're looking over top of your glove and you're just tunnel vision to the glove. So I really tried to focus on that. That was like the only prep I had. Greg Zahm was my catcher at the time for that first one. And he ended up saying, listen, I don't know your stuff. I'm going to see you in the bullpen, but if you don't like it, shake it. Let's just get to what got you here. And that was comforting, knowing that I could shake and, it's my game. If I'm going to get hit around, I'm going to get hit around on my own stuff. He knows the hitters. So let's work together here and have a lot of communication. So that went well. And I think I was down 1-0, 3 batters into the game, but held my own, went a few innings, and I had my whole family there. So it was a big special event. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the Rogers Center, what a great ballpark to hit in and also play in. And the fan base is amazing there. And obviously the Blue Jays are starting to win now in the American League East. But for you, when you were playing, what was it like playing in front of that fan base, the electric crowd?
Loud. They're loud in there. It's really, really cool. It's just, I'd never been to the Rogers Center until I played at it. Like Vancouver's a long way from Toronto. Right. I was in college all the way coming up to there, and then I was working after high school. We didn't just fly out to Toronto to go to games all the time. I'd been to Seattle a couple times, 3 hours south. But overall, it was just, I always wanted to be a guy that signed for the kids, even if, they wanted the Roy Halladay signatures, the Scott Rowlands. I would always walk along there. And if anybody said anything, it's like, because when I was a kid, that's what I wanted. So I always do that now and did that then, and just trying to do things that I would have liked as a kid.
So throughout your career, what would you say you're the most toughest hitter you had to face throughout your career?
Lots. There's lots of Hall of Famers that I've faced for sure. Some of the big home run hitters, they're not the hardest. Yeah. If you can make your pitches, because they strike out a lot usually. Not like I'm looking for strikeouts, but you make a mistake, they can hit it a mile. So that's what they're really good at. The ones that really gave me a hard time were fast leadoff type hitters, left-handed, because I didn't really have a changeup. So I had nothing kind of going away from them. I was all breaking ball, everything's into them, a little bit of a sinker, but it was like Carl Crawford back when he played for the Rays, just disgusting, because then he'd smash you. Yeah. He'd sprint down the baseline. Even if it was a ground ball, he could beat him out. Wow. And then he'd be on first base, wreaking havoc in your eyesight, trying not to steal bases while you're trying to pitch to another really good hitter. Yeah. Those guys gave me the biggest fits, because it wasn't just at the place. If the home run hitter's at first base, you're like, yeah, you're going nowhere. But Carl Crawford sitting at first base, that's what I really found like being annoying and made the whole inning way different.
So I'm just curious, as a pitcher, when you were on the mound, obviously for example, when you have a speedy player like Carl Crawford on the base, some pitchers tend to focus on the base runner instead of the hitter. So for you, how do you compose with that as a pitcher, and what did you do? Did you focus on the hitter more or the base runner more? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, you got to do both. You can't ignore either, or you're not going to pitch long. As I got older, I would stop picking. I didn't really have a great move. I could hold them. I'm not looking to get an out from my pickoff. I'm looking to hold them closer to the base and let them know that I am watching them. What I've found is that I teach kids now is just hold the ball. Hold the ball, mix your looks, mix your times, and just don't be in a pattern. They're not going anywhere. And you don't have to throw it. You don't have to have the possibility of it going away and him getting a free base. You don't have any of that. And you're not taking your attention off the hitter. You're just showing attention with very little energy used. And then while you're doing that at first base, the hitter's sitting there going, I'm ready to hit, I'm ready to hit, I'm ready. And you're not throwing, it's also messing them up. So I found out later on, holding the ball, mixing my times, messes both hitters up, and it's very easy for me to do.
Interesting. Yeah. So what was it like playing in the AL East, competing with the Yankees, Blue Jays? I mean, sorry, Yankees, Rays, Red Sox, and Orioles.
Mentally exhausting. Yeah, mentally exhausting. Not just facing those great teams, but being in Yankee Stadium and being in Fenway.
Yeah.
Even Tropicana, they didn't get a ton of fans all the time, but it was really good lineups all the time. And there's no place like Fenway to pitch. I still, to this day, it's the one unique stadium because you're kind of on an island anyway, but it just goes so deep into the crowd that you just feel like they're all around you. And usually big ballparks, you're really out on an island and they're quite a ways away. And they're also packed in like sardines over there. So, but yeah, it was super unique. It was cool to play in the inaugural season at Yankee Stadium in 2009. So, having air conditioning blowing out the dugout was a little nicer than just having some jet fan at the end of the dugout in the minor leagues. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun memories.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this about playing with the late Roy Halladay. It was just a devastating thing what happened to him, and he's by far he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion, and what a great career. So for you, what was it like just to be his teammate, learning from him, and obviously you looked up to him too, and then finally being his teammate? And what kind of advice did he tell you, or what do you guys talk about in the pitching room? And once AJ Burnett left to the Yankees that year in 2009, you got bumped up to the rotation. And what did he say to you when AJ Burnett left? And where was some kind of stories you had between you and Doc Halladay?
Yeah. So Doc was pretty quiet. He was very focused. It was hard. It's not like he was messing around ever.
Yeah.
He was, to be as great as he isn't an accident. It's not playing cards and playing video games. He's not doing that. He's in the weight room. He's got a heavy weight room regimen. He runs a ton. He's in the cold tubs, hot tubs. He's also getting treatment all the time. He was the last iron horse that would just go out there and you'd have to tear the ball out of his hands after 8 1/3 and he'd be mad at you, right? So that mentality was just really, really great to watch. I was the 5th starter, like you said, and when he's out there, and he's pitching the next day, they can use the bullpen a little bit with me because they know they got Doc going the next day, and he's going to eat up a ton of innings. So watching him pitch live as a teammate was, absolutely impressive. He would always tell me one pitch at a time. It was kind of a big thing. He always said to me, just good or bad, one pitch at a time. If it's a bad one, move on to the next one. If it's a good one, try to repeat it, move on to the next one. You don't live and die with each one, just next pitch, one at a time.
Huh.
Sometimes people get a little ahead, like, I'd get 0-2 on a hitter or something and then waste 3 pitches and like little things like, you're not supposed to, but you're in the big leagues and these hitters are good and they're not going to chase garbage and you make a quality pitch and don't overthink it, and little things that he just kind of teaches you, which was great because he struggled when he first came up. He was an over the top, hard throwing flamethrower, and that didn't work out for him. Then he had to go down and revamp himself again. So he knows what it's like to struggle up there. So that was nice to have a guy that wasn't just always like a Pedro Martinez where he just rolled out of bed and was like disgusting at everything he did all the time. But yeah, he was super great. Not enough kind words to say about him. And just watching his routine that he built up over years was absolutely impressive. He's never in front of his locker. Do not talk to him on game days,
Right.
Pitch every 5 days. You're locked in, and he was definitely one of those guys. He'll be missed.
Yeah. So for you, tell our fans about the Taiwan experience. You won the Taiwan Series champion in 2016. What was that like, and how long did it take you guys to adjust from moving to a different country? And what was the language barrier like? Did you learn some of the language there too?
Yeah, so that was really fun going over there. I know I've been to Taiwan a few times with Baseball Canada before. It's kind of how that worked out, but it was really cool. My family came with me. They weren't in school yet, and we just had a good year. I still got really good friends from that time. Both of them live in Arizona. Mike Larry's been over there now almost 8 years. He's about to become a non-import player, so that's pretty impressive. And then Jared Lansford was another player too that was over there. He lives close by, so those relationships have been great. Seeing them grow. Overall, from there, my kids learn Mandarin a little bit. We actually have them in Mandarin immersion school down here in Arizona, so they've been doing Mandarin since kindergarten. They're in grade 3 now, or 3rd grade, however you want to say it. And so they're doing fun with that. But overall, I'm adventurous with food.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see what kind of foods they have. The clubhouse there was a lot of English. A lot of guys that played in America before. There's definitely some English. And you learn, obviously the swear words, but nothing we can repeat here.
Yeah. So what was it like winning the championship there? And what was the first thing you guys did after winning that championship?
It's a long season. It's a very long season. So after you win the championship, it's like November, and you're like, holy crow, it's like forever. I got here in like February. So you're exhausted. There's only 4 teams. You play everybody all the time. Now there's 5, but play everybody all the time. So I feel like it's pretty helpful for the hitter when they know how you pitch all the time. But no, afterwards we just had a big party and then left. Everybody's pretty ready to get home. It was really cool though. They throw ribbons of the color of your team onto the field when you win. A lot of different unique things. They play music throughout the whole game. Asia's a really cool experience. If you can get over there to even watch a game, it'd be fun just to see how they got songs, they sing songs for each batter going up to the plate. Yeah, it's really cool. I had a great experience.
Wow. So now, now looking back at your career and now seeing the game from a different aspect, not pitching here anymore. But what do you like about today's game? Obviously, you find out tonight if they're going to head out to a lockout. Today is big. They're meeting about the CBA and all, and it might expire tonight. We don't know about that yet. But for you, what do you like about today's game? And obviously, looking at Toronto Blue Jays now, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They have a lot of talent. They got Jose Barrios. They just got Kevin Guzman, but they lost Robbie Ray. But they gained the pitcher. So what do you like about today's Blue Jays?
I like that they're trying to continuously get better. I like that. I heard they're in the running for Chris Bryant too. That could be something that happens today. They're just trying to get better. They know these kids are young. They almost made the playoffs with them. Robbie Ray had an amazing year. He's always been a solid pitcher, but Cy Young, I don't mind. I think he was great for the clubhouse and all that, but I don't mind going with a Gossman who was also an NL All-Star. You're not really, just because you didn't win a Cy Young, it's hard to replace that. I'd love to see him get a lefty bat in there. If they get Chris Bryant, it's another righty bat. I always think that it would have been cool to get Brantley. I remember they were trying to get Brantley last year. They need a lefty bat in there that can swing it and, mess up people's bullpens a little bit better. But I love the direction they're going. It's really fun to go back for the alumni when COVID finally calms down again and see all the guys, meet them all. They're all great kids. Half of them are ex-big league kids, so they grew up in the world. They know what they're doing. So yeah, no, they're fun. They're exciting. Gurriel brothers, I played against them internationally with Canada for a bunch of years. Lourdes for a couple tournaments, and then Ulieski. He was 10 years ago. I was playing against him in again with the Cuban national team, and every time he left that country, they'd be all over him. And he's like, no, I'm staying. And now he's over here having a great career winning World Series. So no surprise there.
Yeah. So a couple more things here before I let you go. This is a 2-part question. So speaking of What do you think about these big contracts teams are handing out to these players? Like, for example, Corey Seager just got a 10-year, $235 million deal. What do you like about? Do you like this long-term contract for these type of players? And which pitcher do you like to watch now?
How can you hate on him, right? Like, how can you hate on, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe somebody that had like a 10-year career 15 years ago be like, damn it, where's my 250 million? You know what I mean? I got like 7. Like, but overall, like, baseball's hard. There's not a lot of turnover. What, we just passed the 20,000 player ever to play in the big leagues. I mean, like, since the game was started, that's a lot of the same people all the time. And these contracts are what do that, like 10 years, like that guy's going nowhere for 10 years. He's on a big league roster. Which just tells you how really hard it is to get there, but good for them. Good for them. I want these kids to make money. It's good for the game. The way it's going with the branding yourself and doing all that. I think the kids are liking that, which is growing the game. I think that's really important as well.
Yeah. And which pitcher do you like to watch now in the game?
Well, you got to love DeGrom. When he's healthy, it looks effortless. Like, Scherzer looks like he's max effort, and it looks max effort. Like, he's giving it everything. DeGrom's just,
yeah.
And it's just 101
yeah.
on the black, not like, it's disgusting. He makes it look extremely easy. It's disgusting. And, watching him pitch is just like in awe, because it's not that easy. He's just been working really hard to get to that point, obviously, but blessed with straight talent of being able to do that. A lot of guys throw 100 and just have no idea where it's going, because you have to generate so much to get it going. He's just nice and easy, perfect mechanics, long frame out front, jumps out of his hand, and can hit a gnat's ass with a 101 mile an hour fastball. So he's definitely fun to watch. What he's doing these last couple of years, I just hope he just gets healthy for good here and goes on a big tear with Scherzer. And I don't know if you're a Mets fan up there in Jersey, but
I'm a Yankee fan.
That's right. You said the Yankees. That's right. Well, it's tough for
Garrett
Cole.
Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Garrett Cole. Yeah. Well, Robbie Ray beat him. A few million short of what he's making, but it's all good. No, that's why you have to go play the games. That's why you have to show up. It's no guarantee anything. You have to go out and play the games.
So the last 2 things here, we're part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. We're trying to help them prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe. So I'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
Cool.
Yeah, and the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the center workers right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, obviously, like, what they're all doing, and just keeping everybody safe as they can. Also going into these hospitals that are just overworked. Thank you. What else can you say? It's trying times for everybody. People are scared. Some people aren't. Some people are, and some people are losing their jobs over, the vaccine mandate and some things. So it's just everybody just stay safe out there and treat everybody with respect, and hopefully we can move forward as a society and get the hospitals back to normal.
Well said. And before we go, would you like to plug anything that you're doing right now? Or
nope, I'm pitching in my daughter's 6-year-old game tonight. I'm gonna lob it in there and try and get shelled. She's in the playoffs, so that's what I'm plugging tonight. I'm going. It's the Peaches. It's like the Rockford Peaches from A League of Their Own. It's like all girls league that plays against boys. So it's like a little organization, which is super fun to be a part of. I have 3 girls, so just plugging. My girls hit the ball hard tonight, and we have a good victory for the playoffs.
Wow, that's amazing. And that wraps up episode 943 with former Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Scott Richmond. Go follow him on all social media formats. This is truly an honor, Scott. Thank you for joining the show. We would love to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full team. But keep up the great work, and it was good to learn about your story. And thank you again.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.